Hello and welcome back to the Wellness Check. Today's conversation is on body dysmorphia, what it is, what it isn't, where you might find it in the mental health field, and what to do about it. There's kind of a spectrum when it comes to body image, and having body image issues is not the same thing as meeting diagnostic criteria for body dysmorphia. Now, as you know, I specialize in the treatment of eating disorders, and where you see eating disorders, it's very likely to also come across body dysmorphia. But you don't have to have body dysmorphia in order to have an eating disorder, if that makes sense. There's comorbidities, right? So with body dysmorphia, you tend to also see maybe OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, hanging around. We might see some anxious tendencies, perfectionistic tendencies. All of these things kind of wrap themselves around body dysmorphia. So when someone is presenting to therapy, these are things that we're looking at, especially when it comes to the treatment of eating disorders. So if someone has what you might call just body image issues, body image dissatisfaction, right? There might be distress about how one looks or how much they weigh, or dissatisfaction with muscle tone or something like that. Whereas body dysmorphia can really encapsulate all sorts of things that don't rely just on weight and body size. Body dysmorphia tends to also look at very specific things about one person's body. So someone might be very nitpicky or critical about the shape of their nose or their hairline or acne marks, anything along those lines, right? Body dysmorphia really tends to be more common, but also more severe. There are also things that, if not addressed, can really turn into something even worse, like an eating disorder, or some other mental health disorders as well. So when we're taking a look at how to treat body dysmorphia, well, it kind of matters what the origins are. So I always do some investigation and some exploring with my clients that come in who are presenting with body image issues, dissatisfaction, anxiety, OCD, all of those things, to kind of get an idea of where this started. It's important to know how long these messages have been around of, I don't like the way I look, or this needs to change in order for me to feel more attractive or more acceptable in society. Typically, there's something old in that person's past, something that catapulted the development of those negative core beliefs, negative thoughts. So that can be something as obvious as maybe someone got bullied in their school years for looking a certain way or doing a certain thing or speaking a certain way, and that through time became something that then that person was insecure about, and that insecurity developed into something more than just an insecurity itself. It's really turned into something more pathological. The person spends a lot of time looking in the mirror and picking and touching and pulling apart kind of the attitude behind how they view their body. And it tends to be very negative and very self-critical. Whereas we might look at them and we don't see anything wrong with their nose or their hairline or the zit that they have on their face. It's very crushing to them. And it can even lead to social anxiety, avoidance of going out with people or being seen in public. It really can just stretch its fingers into a lot of areas of life. So it's just really important to consider that what someone is going through, how they're criticizing the parts of their body that they are looking at, right? It could be perceived, it could be real, it actually doesn't matter. And that goes back to the point of, well, I don't see anything wrong with you, or I think your nose looks fine. It really can become distorted over time in that person's mind, where it becomes this huge subject and source of pain, when really to everyone else it's just fine. It's just fine. So signs and symptoms that come along with body dysmorphia. Like I said, we got the OCD, we got the anxiety, we can even see depression, social anxiety, social avoidance. People can spend a lot of money. So a lot of money on their grooming habits, on their skin care, on their hair care, gym passes. There can be a lot of time spent at the gym or doing exercise or looking at food and diet in a way that then becomes pretty restrictive or rigid and then can spill over into disordered eating or a full-blown eating disorder. Another thing that you will see common with this dysphoria, the body dysphoria, is a lot of comparison to other people. So something I hear a lot in my office is, I'm having a really hard time comparing to other people, whether it's other kids on a college campus or people in the workforce, or just with diet culture in particular. You have the celebrities, you have the magazines, you have the commercials, you have all of these things that really lend to all of the beauty and diet standards and bring out those insecurities a lot more. So you'll see those tendencies of them looking outward to the people around them in order for them to figure out how they should feel about themselves. And if they have a negative or insecure thought about themselves, then it's not going to be favorable for them. So self-esteem, self-worth, self-confidence, these are all things that we're looking at in terms of therapeutic goals when someone presents with body dysmorphia. So what do we do to treat it? Like I said, we go back into the origin first. We look and see, where did this come from? What were the messages that were being sent to you when you were a child, either from your peers or your caregivers? We look for any traumatic material in their background. Of course, we want to assess for any type of abuse or wrongdoing in any way like that, just to kind of see if there was an impact substantial like that throughout their lifeline. Once we have an idea through their background of how these negative core beliefs came to be, and really looking at their specific reasons for sustaining it, meaning, why they're choosing to look at this part of the body, how they're spending their money, what the mind space is 24/7. Is it anxious? Is it dependent on other people? What are we looking at? Then we can get a framework for how to treat it. There are lots of different ways that we can treat it. Of course, we want to assess for the other things too. Are we also dealing with an eating disorder? Do we need to look at relationship with food and body? Or is it not so much that, it's more so another issue? We want to look at the personality style. Is this person perfectionistic? Are they maybe a type that self-sabotages knowingly or unknowingly? This is crucial information to figure out before we figure out how to treat and how to help this person feel better, more confident in their own skin as it is now. Treatment options include CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. You've probably heard of that. That by definition is kind of what therapy is. Cognitive behavioral therapy is you come into therapy with an issue, saying this isn't going right for me, or I don't feel well when this happens, and we say, okay, this is the problem. What is it that you'd rather feel? What is it that you'd rather believe? And we bridge the gap on how to get there through our thoughts and through our actions. That's CBT. If there's trauma to work through, of course, we can do that either through talk therapy with your therapist or with a trauma specialist who does brain spotting or EMDR. We want to look at coping skills. Obviously, that's a huge one. What is this person doing? What is their foundation for coping? Are they coping in negative ways? Do they have the resources to cope in positive ways? Does this person have healthy friendships, healthy family, healthy, maybe intimate relationships? If not, how do we help them develop communication skills and boundaries to help them feel more secure in those relationships? We're more likely to feel safe in ourselves if we're also safe in our relationships, and vice versa. So cognitive behavioral therapy, we have trauma therapy if needed. We're also going to be looking at a potential treatment of substance abuse. Is there any comorbidity with misusing alcohol or drugs? Not to say that that's the case all the time, but there can be, because when you're living in a mind of body dysmorphia, it's not a fun place to be. And so we cope and manage in the ways that we know how, or with the resources that we have. So we want to help them understand, take advantage of, and learn and utilize positive coping skills as well. And again, that's something that really goes down to self-worth, right? If we don't feel like we are worthy of healthy, good, advantageous, productive coping skills, we're not going to choose those coping skills. So you can kind of see how complex treatment of body dysmorphia can actually be, because we have to attend to so many different layers and facets of this person's individual life in order to have this treatment be very specialized for this, for the individual. We want to look at creating a healthy social network. If they have friends that maybe are enabling or engaging in these behaviors as well, we need to help them create friends that are more confident in themselves, groups that they can fit in around without feeling that external pressure. Development of helping someone work through their self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-worth, and fully understanding how it got to be the way it is the treatment plan. So we're working on all these other factors that, in healing those and in helping those to progress and get to a stable, and not even just stable, but happy, firm foundation, automatically we'll begin to see the body dysmorphia symptomology go down, because there doesn't need to be a reliance, as heavy as it was, on all this external stuff. Whether it's the body shape, the body weight, or specific parts of the body that one has been very critical about, it tends to dissipate once you start attending to all of these other things. Now, on a more severe note, we do want to watch out for really negative, dark thoughts, because that can be a comorbidity as well. So we always want to assess, make sure that this person has the skills to keep themselves safe outside of session. Talking about really hard things in session, we want to help them regulate their emotions outside, or if they're triggered by something in their day-to-day life, their relationships, their work environment, school environment, we want to be able to make sure that they know what to do to keep themselves safe. But also, that will go away. That will dissipate once we pay attention to the root cause of where the body dysmorphia comes from. So in a nutshell, you can see we have body dysmorphia as the topic. We talked about like what it might feel like, what to look out for, symptoms. But it's interesting when you think about the treatment, we're not just focusing on the body. We're focusing on all the things that are attached to the body: self-esteem, self-worth, self-confidence, social life, family life, boundaries, communication. All of these other things matter greatly when it comes to becoming more confident in one's body. So I hope that this video helps. And if you or someone you know is experiencing body dysmorphia, or even body image issues, or disruption with food and body, reach out to a therapist. Reach out to a therapist that's qualified in working with body and food and body image in general. You can live a life that is free from concern or external pressures, or even just those internal voices, the things that we say to ourselves about ourselves. And it all starts with digging deep underneath the skin, so to speak, and figuring out what happened and when and how to heal that. Thank you for checking in with your wellness, and I hope you have a great day.